Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda, and this is Kevin
Hi there.
with A. Smith Gallery, and we're happy today to have with us Ron Butler. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hi.
So Ron received the Director's Award, which is something Kevin and I get to select, in the Interiors exhibition that was juried by Ann Mitchell. The name of the image was Somebody See You Up There. So it was a, remember, Kevin, it was a diptych, black and white, self-portrait, right?
Oh, yeah, and one of them, yeah.
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 It was a great image.
Great image. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
really
good
like that
image.
So Kevin,
All right.
Kevin's gonna read Ron's bio.
I'm going to read Ron's bio. I have bronchitis right now, so my voice is going
It's even deeper.
to.
Your radio voice.
Yeah.
Good radio
that's right.
voice, yeah.
That's right. I was born and raised in Mississippi and have lived in New York City since 1983. I've lived many lives and try to bring that experience to the camera. There is what I intend and there is what actually happens. I try to stay open to what is in front of me and experiment with all processes, antique to modern, to tell the story I like to play. Great. And Ron has actually come and visited us here in Johnson City in our little small Texas town, which we greatly appreciate.
It's quite a while ago.
I highly recommend it.
Great antique stores, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you read your statement for us?
Okay. This is called First and Oldest Dream. My memory goes way back to the ages of 2 or 3. One of those memories was of a reoccurring dream. It was simple, lacking sound, lacking images, almost lacking feelings. It was a state of being, a state of contentment. In that contentment, a wave of tension would slowly build and then release. The waves would come in a random pattern. Upon waking, I knew that this was not the first time I had had this dream. Each time the dream reoccurred, more elements were added to it. One time it was just the play of light and dark, with light building up to a blinding glare and then releasing back into darkness. As I grew into childhood, images and sounds began to attach to the framework of this dream. It was not my only dream, but it was one that would return like an old friend. The relaxed darkness became a part of me, riding the wave of the stresses of life. It became a place of centering. As I began to express myself through my teens and into adulthood, this calm place would inform me. Quietly, it would point out something, music, art, or an event, I should notice and retain for later. In times of trials and troubles, I could retreat into this place and heal and create. Decades later, when I started on my path of photography, I noticed that on occasion, this place would say to me, frame that, take the photo, the meanings come later. As I listened, and the more I listened, that voice and its sensibility grew stronger. After years of following this direction, I also noticed that it always reflected the same place in me that would echo in the dream. No matter the subject matter, it was in essence the same photo. When the resonance happens, I feel a yes, that's it. Sometimes I know it as the shutter clicks, and other times it rings true after the film is developed. Not all my work is based on this, but this is a constant to which I return. My first and oldest dream manifests itself into the world one frame at a time.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
It's kind of about a dream of validation or right?
Yeah, or listening to what you were born with, I think.
Yeah.
That dream could have gone in many directions, but I ended up here. So
Right. Well, we're going to share your images.
okay.
Okay.
Can you see that?
I can see it, yeah.
Very good. Can you tell us about this one?
This is the road just in front of our place in Connecticut. We live right at the edge where Nettleton Hollow Road stops and West Mountain Road begins. They pay taxes on one side, they don't really pay them on the other. And you can kind of see where the line stops. And this was a fresh thing they put up this past winter. And we had a couple of really warm days and some really great fog came through. And I just love the dreaming of this, how detached it is. You know, it beckons, you know, it's in a way slightly cinematic. So
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful.
thanks.
Why does that line stop there?
That's where the responsibility of one town to
Ah,
another.
okay, gotcha.
Right.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
how many of these images we're about to see are all processed or silver gelatin?
I'd say probably 90%. The ones that aren't, I just haven't gotten to yet.
Right.
This one I just did. This one
This
we're
one?
showing, yeah. This one I just did this past spring, silver gelatin. So it was fun working, trying to bring out the different areas of the fog and not lose things in there.
Beautiful shot.
Well, thanks.
I'm going to ask the first question here.
All
So,
right.
growing up in Mississippi and then moving to New York City must have been somewhat of a culture shock. Your work to me has more of Mississippi than New York. I can't exactly put my finger on it. Maybe it's me also being from the South. Thoughts?
Well, I I think, you know, where you're raised becomes the benchmark for you, whether it's something that you accept or something that you reject. But that benchmark is always there. Um, and I've always been a watcher and a looker. Um, my mother tells a story of me driving her nuts when I was a toddler and I wouldn't speak. I would just watch everything. And she had no clue what I was thinking. Drove her nuts. Um, but I absorbed everything around me. You know, be riding down a road and my attention out the window, looking at every road that goes by, you know, and imagining what's down there, what's down there. So I kind of already had this nature. And then if you throw in the fact that, you know, radio and television is showing me that there's things outside of Mississippi, that was the first inkling that I might actually be moving away, even at an early age, just because I was drawn to those things. So, yeah, I mean, I reach back and touch all those things I had as a kid. I use them all the time. So
So the move to the move to New York was you as an adult.
I turned 21 right after I moved here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I had a friend who had already come up and you know, I'd finished with school and I'm like, can I come stay with you? And I told my mom I'd only be here 3 months. I've been here 41 years. Uh, so, yeah. And as soon as I hit the street here, as soon as I stepped onto St. Mark's Place, I was home.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
think I was always going to be here. So,
Great. Well, tell us about this image.
this is out at Fire Island, and in the town that we're in, everything is up on stilts to allow for flooding, including all the boardwalk. There's no cars allowed. You either walk or ride a bike. And this is an interest to a house that I don't think has been occupied for many years, hence the grass.
Right.
And I've been photographing it about once a year for the last 3 years. This was last summer. And it's part of a series that I'm working on called Reclamation, where nature kind of takes back, you know, what we put up. So
Very nice.
yeah, this one, um, this is a restaurant that just opened up on Broadway back in January. And this was a January morning. And I was walking down the street and I just kind of saw this glow of the curtain and set it up. I mean, this was like 9 in the morning and it still felt like night. So
You have a unique vision. I think it's probably not conscious, but a lot of your work is mysterious, is like cloaked in something or hidden
yeah,
in something.
yeah, I kind of
Where
adhere
does
to
that
that.
come from?
I, I've always been able to look at at things, but only like take the part to what's the word I'm looking for? To refer to the whole. And in this case, it's kind of like the Hitchcock adage of don't show it, imply it.
Right.
So here I'm leaving it wide open. I mean, there's whatever my intent is, fine. But you as the viewer can step in and there's your own story right there.
Absolutely.
So that's something I play with a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, for me, the narrative here is I saw the curtain, I liked it. That's what it was.
And then we could decide if somebody's getting strangled in the car outside the window.
Exactly. All right, this is down on the Lower East Side, a restaurant. They stacked their chairs, and it struck me like like a Franz Klein painting.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly.
Um, and it took me a while to like get myself to the right height to get this angle the way I wanted it. But I just love the abstractness of it, and it works upside down too. So
Right. So did you study art in school or photography?
no, I came to it just by being interested in it.
Yeah.
My background was more sociology, psychology. I've been a woodworker, musician, audio engineer. So I've done a lot of lives,
Right, right.
you know. Um, and I just kind of, started doing this full time about 12, 13 years ago.
Uh-huh. Well, you've done well.
Thanks.
I'll tell you what, I'll ask you another question here.
All right.
You're telling of your childhood dream and how that has affected your photography practice is very compelling. Knowing much of your work, I can easily make the connection. Has that also been the impetus for your use of alternative processes?
I think so. There's something about artifact and photography that I think helps to disengage it from time. And it kind of opens up the image to allow more story in.
Mm-hmm.
So, in doing wet plate, you've got the anomalies that happen with the chemistry washing across the plate, and so it'll feel old whether it is or not. Torn photographs, doing cyanotype, it kind of just disengages you from the immediacy of now,
Right.
and allows that to breathe.
And it's all that the happy accidents and the unintentional mark making that create some really wonderful images.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's what I intend, and then there's what happens.
Right, right.
And sure, I can take claim for it, but there were some good accidents.
So tell us about this one.
This is actually just down the street from the curtain image. It's a Japanese restaurant, again, in late winter, winds blowing everywhere. And they sort of have the leftover outdoor dining from COVID there that they hadn't taken down yet. So they had all these lanterns strung across. And I just waited, framed, opened up the shutter so it would, blur a bit, and had at it.
I love this
Yeah, I
image.
do too.
I mean, there's so much you can read into it. I mean, those could be alien eggs being dropped to Earth. They could be,
Yeah.
they're
Beehives.
the cocoons of a new breed of beautiful women.
Yeah.
Right.
What about this one?
This is in that same neighborhood, around Broadway and 25th Street. I started to notice that whoever's in this office has all these cacti in the window. And just the reflection of the buildings behind across Madison Square Park in juxtaposition against those cactus. And it's always drawn me in. And then just having that real strong, architecture around it.
Right, right. It's an image within an image there.
Yeah.
Well, I've got another question for you.
All right.
Reading your statement, it gives the impression that your photography practice is meditative, almost mystical, extemporaneous. I know you also go out to shoot with a strategy. If I'm right about this, which path are you most drawn to?
My day-to-day practice is walking around with my Yashica. And if I hear that voice, I'm shooting that. Sometimes I'm shooting things for a project too. So it's a mix. I also work on a series with probably about 20 other people around the world who photograph abandoned shoes.
Right.
That I use my iPhone for.
Right.
I don't waste film on that one, unless it's a really great setting. Yeah, so it's basically just whatever the moment is and what it's called for. Sometimes I'm just a documentarian. Sometimes it's going for a mood. Could be anything. I just, again, stay open.
That shoe project is amazing me. So do you ever go out and not find shoes? It's amazing how many shoes people leave.
It goes in waves. I average about, I'd say, at least 4 pair a week,
Wow.
Wow.
and sometimes more. So
So is there ever any indication as to why they're left? I mean, it's just a complete mystery, I would imagine, right?
yeah, sometimes oh, they just threw it away, or you find them in front of a Reebok store or something. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, of course they
yeah.
bought a new pair, they threw these away.
Right.
But then there's some that are just fantastical. It's like, how did it get there? Who is this? My favorite recently was there was a leopard skin pump on top of a bus stop. How did it get up there?
Right.
Where's the other one?
Right. That's great.
She get home okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell us about this image.
This is one of those happy mistakes. This was shot with, I think, the Ilford Sprite 35 that came out a year or so ago. And I noticed after intensely using it for a few months, I was having a problem with the shutter that it only partially opened, like your eye when you're just waking up. And this particular part of the image is only like the upper right of the frame. So I had to blow everything up and go in close. But this is going up in Connecticut. It's near where we live. There's the little building down there is actually a barn for the farmer who actually hays the field next to us. So
I really like this one. This is
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
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 So I like the fact too that it feels like you're just looking up. It
Right.
reminds me of that Springsteen song about the house on the hill
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
out of Nebraska.
Yeah. Right.
So this one I just love because it punches a hole in the sky.
Uh-huh.
This was over on 3rd Avenue. Building was probably built maybe 8, 9 years ago. It's part of St. John's University now, but it's got all these like angles and reflections going on. Just depends on where you stand as to what you see. If I'd moved maybe 3 feet to my left, you'd be seeing buildings, in the reflection of that building.
Right. There's I don't know if it's just me, but it's got kind of a mental phenomena. To me, it's this line right here appears to just follow out into the sky.
Yeah.
If you look away, it's there, and you look at it, it disappeared.
Yeah. This was a fun one to print too,
Yeah.
because you really had to play with getting the clouds to reflect at different surfaces.
Right.
And I remember having to burn that right side a lot.
Right. Very nice.
Yeah, this is rhydodome, which I think is the proper term for the bark of a tree.
What
This
is
is in
it?
a rhydodome,
Uh-huh.
Rhydidome.
Uh-huh.
Um, And this is a tree in our yard up in Connecticut. What struck me was this reminded me of a torso. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, like the first time you actually see an adult, you're a child, but you see an adult who doesn't have a shirt on,
Ah,
kind of immediately, it's like in your
ah,
face. That's what this was like to me.
huh, that's fascinating.
Part of a dream.
So did you see that before you shot it, or did you see that after you
Well,
were looking
the,
at it
the
after you
upper
shot it?
the upper left corner quadrant there is what drew me in. It looked like flesh to me,
Ah,
you know, like an armpit and part of a chest.
right.
Kind of.
That's great.
Yeah, this was our sad photograph. We had a piano in our family for 30 years, and recently we were having it tuned for a party, and the guy came in to tune it, and I realized all of a sudden he was taking way too long to do so, and I turned around, he had the entire piano apart, and he was in tears, and he turned to me and goes, "I'll pay for somebody to put this back, but I can't do it," and he just left.
But why did he take it apart?
He was having trouble getting one of the keys to move, and it just one of those cascading things. I mean, it was an old piano, and it had been through a lot.
Right.
And I understand you move one key, you got to move another, but he went whole hog in it, took the
Wow.
whole thing apart.
Wow.
Um, and the blur on this was a happy accident. I snapped the photo and then just kind of lifted my camera up to walk away, and the shutter was still open. So
Well, that's great.
Wow.
So what happened to the piano?
we still have a box of keys. Actually, I got a box of them over there. But the rest of it we had to toss.
Oh.
That poor guy, he probably is never going to live that down.
His Yelp review is really bad.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, this is what I intended. This is what happened. I was just going to shoot a straight line of the water meeting the beach, not being aware that a wave was about to take me out. So, so I call this War and Peace.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. The tension in that is great.
Mhm.
And the camera didn't get wet. I did. Yeah, this is up in Brimfield in Massachusetts. They do these huge flea markets 2 or 3 times a year. And of course, every time you go, it's going to rain. And this particular day, there was frantic lightning storms. As soon as we got there, we had to wait in the car for like a half an hour. And I came out and everybody had put their stuff away already. And I found this behind a tent. So I just love the interplay of the circle with the water.
Yeah, yeah.
What is?
And that invitation to go inside.
There's a little bit of Franz Klein there too, with that dark shape in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You know that was one of my mother's dreams, was to go to Brimfield. She was a what was you? How was you? She was a
Market fanatic.
She was a habitual garage sale, estate sale goer too.
Yeah. Well, Brimfield will burn you out in about 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's overwhelming.
Well, you do some of that too, and you go out to the flea markets in New York, right?
New York and Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you can find some fantastic stuff.
yeah, I think we've decorated most of our place with that.
Right.
So
Right.
this is actually at a flea market. It's a toy house, and I just remember walking up on it and thinking, it was like I was looking at a real house,
Mhm.
and the light was just perfect on it. Snapped it. I've got 2 versions of this. One where the right side is a little lighter. You can actually see the front of the house and the door, but I like it darker. I think it has more substance to it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. No, it does. It looks like an actual house sitting there.
Mhm. Yeah, you gotta do a double take.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you see the drawers behind, you realize where you
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Right.
That kind of grounds you.
Well, I think that is our last one.
Yep.
Well, these are all really wonderful.
Nice journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for doing this. We really appreciate it. And we
Sure.
appreciate your wonderful support of the gallery.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
Well, like I've said before, I mean, working with you guys, it feels like home. So,
Oh, good.
well, that's great to hear.
yeah. So I'm always happy to submit and hopefully get in. So,
You do pretty well.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we're going to sign off and thank you again
Yeah,
for
thank you
doing
so
this.
much.
And
All right. Well, thank
good
you
luck
for
with
the
everything.
opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right, great.
Okay.
Well, you take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.